Hey, pleasant good afternoon. It is just after 3 o'clock, to be precise, 3:07. My name is Matt Murphy, and I'm in for Brian Wilson on the drive today and all week long. Pleased and proud you've decided to join us this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've lots to get into, 4 full hours to do the job, and we thank you for being around. Whatever time you're able to give us, whether it's the full 4 hours or just a few moments, we're certainly appreciative of that. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of the broadcast today as I introduce you to the team that will be controlling the environment over the course of the next 4 hours. There's Jay Harper behind the glass, making sure that all of our headlines are covered. There's Chris Weber also behind the glass, only one pane for Chris, 2 panes for Harper. And he is, generally speaking, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible, which there we go. And that's probably the reason that I'm overmodulating. Hello, Weber.
You got to handle those all by yourself.
I've got blinky knobs of my own. Doesn't Wilson normally talk about the blinky knobs?
You may want to see a doctor about that, but yeah.
Hello. I hope you had a good 4th.
Yeah, it was uneventful for me.
Were you working on Friday?
Yeah, I was here.
Okay. So Harper, were you in on Friday?
Yeah, he was here too.
I feel like a slacker. I was not here on Friday.
Yeah, I was actually over on Nash Icon on the 4th too.
Oh gosh, I mean, Harper doesn't take a day off.
Mr. Versatile.
Man of many hats there. Well, good to see you guys on this Monday afternoon. Hope everybody's safe and sound. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July holiday and the weekend beyond it. And hope everybody's had a good Monday thus far. It is hot, but it is summertime, and it's supposed to be hot on this July 8th of the year of our Lord 2024. Let me get the pleasantries out of here. It's my episode 605 of our daily proceedings, or at least weekday proceedings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And for those watching on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch is up and running. You're invited to do that. Brought to you in part by F&M Bank, who runs the chat feature over there. Super Talk Television demonstrates that locks for Trump is going well for me. It is day 128 of my commitment not to cut my hair until we have a new president-elect. I was thinking that we might have one by the time Monday rolled around. The way that the weekend was going for Joe Biden. It does not seem that will be the case. He'll last at least another few days. Beyond that, we don't really know. And we'll break it all down for you over the course of the afternoon. Take your telephone calls at any point during the proceedings. You're invited to participate by dialing us up at 615-737-9986. You can also hit us up on the membersnutrition.com super text line. I've got that up and running in studio, and we would love to hear from you in that regard as well. Anytime you want to call us up, I'm kind of free form in that regard. You may do so at the aforementioned telephone numbers. But it's Locks for Trump Day 128. I made a commitment on March 1 that I would not cut my hair again until we had a new president or a new president-elect. I'm hoping that will be November 6th, which leads me to my opening point. I said last week, and those of you who listen to The Drive with Brian Wilson, he has said as much in his own way, that the media cycle is an interesting thing. We would call it a fickle mistress, in that it will change on you at a moment's notice for good or bad. And the Biden team was hoping that the 4-day period between July 4th last Thursday and yesterday, or today, as the media cycle kind of ramps back up, would lend itself to a favorable tamping down of the controversy that was created by the debate when all of America was exposed to the true Joe Biden. That's the Joe Biden that is the real deal. If you're wondering who's coming to the party at any given moment, by all accounts for those within the White House, that's the guy that you're more apt to get than the other hopped up Joe that has to be carefully orchestrated and carefully prepared for. Now, you had a little bit of hopped up Joe this morning on Morning Joe. That would be Joe Scarborough, not to be confused with the President of the United States, as he made a call in, and we've got some of that audio for you a little bit later on. But the controversy continues to simmer. It's not died down. You have a number of sitting Democrats that are asking for Joe Biden to remove himself as a candidate for President of the United States. Over the weekend, my goodness, Joe lost Meathead over the weekend. Meathead. When you lose Meathead and Stephen King, you've accomplished something, Joe. And Joe has done just that. He's lost both of them. Rob Reiner, a staunch leftist socialist Democrat, I mean, he is a moron, but whatever. He's a staunch leftist and big-time supporter of old, crazy, sleepy, sloppy Joe. He, over the weekend on the X machine, said, you know what? We need somebody different in here for the better of the country. They are so afraid of Trump, and they are fearful that Joe Biden cannot defeat Donald Trump. Stephen King said as much over the weekend as well on the same platform. So you're losing prominent establishment Democrats left and right. You're losing entertainment figures that have, believe it or not, a voice in the political process. I know that Rob Reiner shouldn't, but he does. I know that Stephen King shouldn't, but he does have a voice in the political process. You're losing those individuals. And as you do, you're slowly but surely seeing support erode outside of Washington, D.C., to the point that I think we need to intervene. So just to set the stage for you before I make this, I feel like it's a pretty big announcement on what I want to do. And I'm not here to necessarily do it on Brian Wilson's territory and on his turf, but, you know, conditions being what they are, I've got to roll this out as quickly as I possibly can. Normally, I would roll it out at the 12 o'clock hour during my slot, but being that Brian is, he's off traipsing in Alaska?
The Great White North.
Canada?
Yeah.
Wow. He looked like, did you see some of those photos? That's like Inner
Gorgeous.
Passage.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
special stuff.
I don't know what Inner Passage is.
I don't know either. Sounds nice.
But it looks nice. It looks great.
Yeah, beautiful.
Man, oh man. Wilson said it was he told me that it was his first trip to America's Hat.
Yep, that's what he said.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Good for him. He lamented, he was worried. And he was telling me this before they made the announcement that they were moving the sentencing of Donald Trump. He's like, how could I have anticipated? He was like, Murphy, how could I anticipate that we've got one president that's falling apart before our very eyes, and we got a former president that might be in jail before I get back from my vacation? I'm like, man, go have vacation. Everything will be here when you get back. So hopefully he's having a good time up in Canada. But I did not mean to make this announcement necessarily on his turf, but I think it's important enough. I think Wilson would be in full support of what I'm going to announce as a campaign on the part of the Matt Murphy Show, and by extension, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But I need to set it up real quick in order to make the announcement. So in 2019, as Donald Trump was beginning preparations for a re-election campaign, we had a lot of speculation as to who would be the opponent to go against him. And Joe Biden was largely dismissed as a candidate because of his age and infirmity. He was 3.5 years removed from his vice presidential stint, and a vice president doesn't do all that much anyway. You might go to a few funerals, you go to a couple of ribbon cuttings, but you're not really doing a lot of anything if you are a vice president of the United States. I mean, the most prominent thing that I can remember that Joe Biden did as vice president was he hosted a beer summit, right? Remember the beer summit? Where there was Joe and there was Obama and there was the cop that Barack Obama accused of being a racist. And there was that professor, whatever his name is. He has some show on PBS. I can't really remember it. And they all had a nice little beer summit trying to wash away the sins of the Obama administration, assuming that a cop, because he's white, was a racist because he was trying to stop a black guy from going into a house that he didn't know was his or not. That's all I remember about Joe Biden. It was widely considered past Joe's time to be president of the United States. However, based on the cast of idiots that the Democrats put up for candidacy, to include Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg and some of these other clowns that he has co-opted into his administration, because of all of that and because of COVID-19 and the idea that Joe had the ability to run largely his campaign from his basement, he would pop himself up and go to a debate and perform fairly poorly, but then come back. But he outperformed. Can I say he was the tallest midget in the circus? I suppose I can. He was the tallest midget in the circus, as my grandpa used to say. And so after the COVID-19 debacle, and I'm not trying to relitigate 2020 and the reasons why Joe Biden became president, I'm merely resetting all of this for you to remind you that we thought he was too old 5 years ago. And the weight of the presidency and the fact that he is in his 80s now has only compounded exponentially the obvious nature of his mental state. Most of us and most of you who listen to Supertalk 99.7 WTN, I've long said you're the smartest listeners on planet Earth because you are. You've long understood this. You did not need to be informed, but understand this too. There are millions of Americans who were blissfully ignorant of the absence of thought going on in the president of the United States head. If you watch exclusively MSNBC or ABC, CBS, NBC or #NeverCNN, if you exclusively absorb media from a leftist point of view, they have shielded the mental infirmity of the president of the United States from a large portion of the American people. I know that that's difficult for us to understand because we've seen it for 5 years. But I'm trying to reset the big deal that this debate was. It was a big deal in as much as nobody, Jake Tapper, Dana Bash, MSNBC, nobody, Karine Jean-Pierre, Jean-Claude, whatever her name is, nobody could prevent what happened on stage from happening. He fell apart, and he had nobody there to save him. And he did so as America watched. And so the left that had for years been protecting what they knew was the fact, what they knew was the case, what are they left with? They're left with excuse-making and admissions, which is what they've been doing over the last week and a half. They have nothing else. What are they going to say? That they intentionally lied to you for the past several years? Do you think ABC, NBC, CBS, do you think these media organizations have that in them? Do you think I often say about Democrats, and I repeat myself when I call the mainstream media Democrats because they're one and the same. They're the propaganda wing of the Democrat Party. They've become this. If they had any shame, they would experience it, but they have no, they're shameless. And so it's a matter of moving forward and making the next excuse that gets him to the next thing. And so the political left floundered to find an excuse that the media could clamp onto. The media is not about to admit to you that they've intentionally spiked the information for the last several years regarding the mental health and the mental decline of Joe Biden. They're not about to do that. So they originally got cold, meaning, oh, the president of the United States had a cold. He didn't look like he had a cold. He looked pale. They fixed that, didn't they? Man, oh man, boy, they fixed that, didn't they? Can you imagine being the schlupp in that room? They've got a big meeting. What do we do about Joe? How do we fix the Joe problem? What excuses do we make about Joe? He had a cold. Okay, that's good. Let's start that. Let's roll that out. Let's see if that sticks. What's next? What do we do? And there's Smoot in the corner of the room. You know Smoot. Good old Smoot. He's always good with an idea. And Smoot pipes up. And Smoot, he looked very pale, sir. Damn it, Smoot, you've got a gift. He is pale. Let's get him some orange tanner and let's move on it now. Before he gets into that softball interview with Stephanopoulos. We need him nice and tan. We need him tan by tomorrow if possible. And they got it. Oh, that'll fix everything. Tanner goes straight to his brain. So they started with a cold. They also came up with the tanner idea, which is pretty obvious that they got him tanned because they thought that his paleness added to the mental infirmity, the entire dynamic. Well, the cold thing didn't really stick because Americans know what a cold is, and that's not what a cold was. With a cold, you have sniffles. He didn't really have any sniffles. I mean, he's always had that little cough that he leans on when he goes to answer a question. but it didn't feel like a cold, and so they had to come up with something new. And the second thing that they came up with was, he was jet lagged. And someone, probably Smoot, in the corner of the room said, yeah, but he was home for 9 days. Shut up, Smoot! You're an idiot. You've always been an idiot. Let's go with the jet lag idea. And so they went with that. So it's not only cold, but it's also a jet lag problem that led to the debate debacle, the performance that wasn't by Joe Biden and Team Democrat. But that doesn't really sit well with the American people either. You know why? Because we're smarter than Democrats give us credit for, and we understand a lie when we hear it, and that's what that is. Joe Biden could not put sentences together. A cold does not prevent you from putting sentences together unless you're on cold medication, which was asked by the press. Hey, what kind of cold medication was Joe on? Oh, he wasn't on any cold medication. Did he see a doctor for his cold? No, he didn't see a doctor for his cold. Oh, really? But he knew he had a cold. He knew he had a cold. Now, I don't know that they've asked this question, but if I were among the press pool, I would ask, hey, why did Joe, if he knew he had a cold and he got tested for COVID, walk around the Waffle House shaking every damn hand that would stick it out right after the debate? Why did he do that? Crickets from the White House. All of this is compounding on itself. You've dug a hole, and now all you know to do is to keep digging. The only thing that will get Joe Biden out of this is for Joe Biden to present himself as competent, and he cannot do that, and so he needs us. That's right, us. You and me and every other person that loves the United States of America, we need to come together to save this country right now, and I'm going to tell you how in just a moment. It's 3:23. Matt Murphy and for Brian Wilson on the Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Eyebrows being raised at reports of a Parkinson's disease expert's recent visits to the White House. And an investigation underway in Antioch after a Memphis man was shot there and killed Sunday night near a strip mall. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Harper. It is 3:28, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. I'm in for Brian Wilson this day and this week. All week long, you'll hear me from 3 until 7. Normally, I'm here from noon until 3. Des Dickerson doing a fine job filling in. A little bit too good, if you ask me. I don't know if you know my replacement rules, Weber, but they're pretty simple. You cannot be as good as me. That's it. That's the rule.
That's the one and only rule.
And yeah. Des is I don't think he's following the rule.
He's teetering.
A little too good.
Yeah. Towing that line, is he?
But he's coming back tomorrow. So well, we'll see how that goes from noon until 3. I'll ask him to be a little less entertaining. Keep him here, but want him,
stick it down a notch.
I mean, that's why Brian lets me in here. That's the same rule. Same rule.
I wasn't going to say anything. But since you brought it up.
I mean, same rule applies, right? All right. So just resetting all of this in advance of our announcement right after Jay Harper's newscast. So Joe Biden, old in 2019, 2020. COVID-19, a lot of different factors. James Clyburn saving him in South Carolina, saving his bacon in South Carolina, as many of you have pointed out. Was huge, which is the idea. I mean, James Clyburn kind of hedging his bets on who he is most supporting moving into November is a big deal in South Carolina as well, even though they've already held the primary. If Joe Biden doesn't go anywhere, if he digs his heels in, as he has done today, and we'll get into all of that, it makes the job a lot harder for Democrats. If their goal is to replace him, we should be fighting to save Joe. Which is why in just a few minutes I will be announcing Operation Save Joe on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is my game plan to save America, and the first way we save America is to save Joe Biden on the ballot in 2024. I'll explain it. I'll feed you baby birds right after the news on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It is 3:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny, 95 steamy degrees. The full forecast and a traffic report are next. A Parkinson's disease expert visiting the White House 8 times over an 8-month span between last July and March of this year, including one visit with President Biden's personal doctor. That's according to White House visitor logs. The White House not confirming, though, if he was advising on the president's personal care, saying only in a statement that, quote, a wide variety of specialists from the Walter Reed system visit the White House complex to treat thousands of military personnel who work on the grounds, end quote. Here's White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre today during her briefing. She called it a privacy issue.
We share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to divulge somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, an investigation underway in Antioch after a Memphis man was shot and killed Sunday night in what appears to be an attempted robbery. The shooting reported about 10 o'clock in the 800 block of Hamilton Crossings off of Murfreesboro Road. Metro Police said that when they got there at the scene, they found 23-year-old London Montgomery in the driver's seat of a stolen Mercedes SUV after it had crashed into a retaining wall. He had been shot several times. He was taken to a local hospital where he died. Police added that the shooting does appear to be drug-related. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy, and for Brian Wilson today and this week. It is 3:38. Thank you for being around. Hot. I happened to catch, by the way, I don't want to make too much of this because I don't think there's too much to be made of this, but when it comes summertime, occasionally you get a hurricane flaring up in the Atlantic most often, and it comes across, and sometimes, it pops the Bahamas. Sometimes it pops other parts of the Caribbean. Sometimes it pops the Yucatan Peninsula. Sometimes it pops Florida. Sometimes it pops the eastern seaboard. Sometimes it pops nothing. Sometimes it turns around and it goes back away. I don't know what it was about this barrel. You see this barrel over the weekend? This am I saying that right? Barrel?
Yeah.
It feels like maybe it was just because it was the Weather Channel, and I've not watched the Weather Channel in some time. Does the Weather Channel overplay these events? I can't even get there.
I can't even say it.
I can't even say it. I watched the Weather Channel, and listening to the disappointment, they could not contain their disappointment that Beryl fizzled out to a certain degree because they wanted to slam into Texas as a Category 4 or something or another. At least that's the way it felt. But over the weekend, I'm watching, I guess this was Saturday morning, it's on, and they cannot contain their disappointment that it has weakened when they promised that it would strengthen.
That's big ratings for them when we have major storms, I guess.
I guess so. I mean, when your ratings depend on a certain level of weather chaos, I guess we should anticipate that they're going to give us weather chaos. Is it any wonder that people that watch the Weather Channel think that the world's going to hell in a handbasket when it comes to global warming? Because, I mean, this has never happened. Everything's unprecedented for them. Everything that happens next has never happened before, apparently, according to the Weather Channel. Anyway, we're thinking about our brethren up the Texas coast as they're getting popped. I mean, a Category 2 is nothing to sneeze at, and I think it made landfall as a Category 2, so we're watching that situation, and I don't think that's going to affect our weather back here in Tennessee. So let me explain to you what I mean when I talk about Operation Save Joe. By the way, we need a sound. We need something that is fitting Joe Biden so that when I announce operations, and I think Chris Webber and I spoke about this briefly, and I think he's got the perfect sounder for Operation Save Joe. So I'm going to say Operation Save Joe, and Chris is going to play the sound. And this is the sounder you hear when you know that it's time to rally the troops together for Operation Save Joe. Operation Save Joe! That's exactly right. That's what it is. That's good. I like that. Wow, Operation nice. Save Joe! In all seriousness, folks, our country is teetering on the precipice of calamity. I don't mean to be the guy politically that does the thing that I just complained about from a weather perspective with the Weather Channel, which is why I brought it up. I'm not trying to be that guy. However, the two central crises that I see as existential in the United States of America, in terms of our future, in terms of our ability to continue as the country that we know and love, there's one immediate existential crisis and there's one long-term existential crisis, in my opinion. And you're welcome to call in with your own. The immediate crisis is at our southern border. There is a designed play, and the liberals are lying to the American people as they discuss it. They don't want to talk about it because to talk about it is to bring up the fractures in their logic as to why they are allowing this to happen. They claim they're not. However, Joe Biden himself signed multitudes of executive orders rolling back the things that Donald Trump had done to protect our southern border from foreign invasion. For the last 3.5 years, Joe Biden has allowed, and his administration has allowed that foreign invasion to not only happen, but to increase. It has become such a thing that we expect its regularity on a daily basis. 10,000 violations, 12,000 violations, 8,000 violations, 5,000 violations of our southern border. And now we're talking about tens of millions of people who are in the United States of America illegally. And we don't know who they are or what their purpose might be. Some of them maybe just coming for better work. Some of them are coming to commit acts of terrorism. Who's who? We don't know. We don't know. I'm going to repeat that. Repeat the line, as Joe Biden would say. Pause for applause, as Joe Biden would say. Some of the people coming across our southern border over the last 3.5 years, really any time in American history, if they're coming illegally, many of them are coming to just do work and send money home to their families. And I understand that. There but for the grace of God go I. And I think we need to put ourselves in that human being position to understand that if given the opportunity, if I grew up in Haiti or Guatemala or anywhere south of the border and I had the chance to get up here and get to the United States of America, the promise of the United States of America, are you kidding me? Of course I would take that up. I don't blame many of them. I blame us. I blame us for allowing it to happen. And I blame more specifically the Democrats, more specifically still the Biden administration. It has created a dynamic by which they are loading liberal states with individuals that they can then count toward representation. They can tilt the tables of representation toward the liberals to the point that we're never getting back to a constitutional form of government again, and they can eventually move on with their plans to perhaps load up the United States Supreme Court with additional justices, to pack the court, if you will, and do other things. And eventually legalize those citizens who are then beholden to Democrats, and they've created a new voting bloc dynamic, an illegal alien voting bloc dynamic. That's existential crisis number one. Existential crisis number two is a little bit of a difficult nut to crack because most people want to whistle past the graveyard and not talk about it, and it's our almost $35 trillion in debt. We add to it in a way that is difficult to comprehend by most Americans, even myself. It will kill us. It will cripple us to the point that we will crumble from within, And I promise you, those government officials that want to try to pick up the pieces and figure out what to do based on the crumbling economy that we'll see in the next 15 or 20 years, they're going to pick up the pieces by declaring that we need to revert to socialism, that the government needs to take over the means of production in the United States of America as a way to solve the, quote, capitalistic problem. I'm just predicting it. Write it down, and you'll see it 10 years from now, 15. You'll remember. You won't remember my name. You'll say, I remember some dunderhead on the radio in Nashville, Tennessee was filling in for Brian Wilson one day, and he said that, and I can't remember his name, but he said it, and I remember he said it. The Democrats will never admit that it was their fault. They'll never admit that the overspending was the creation of the problem itself. They will blame capitalism, and they will explain to the dunderheads in the United States of America that vote Democrat anyway that the answer to it is socialism, which is what they're trying to accomplish to begin with. So these are the two biggest existential crises that I believe the United States of America faces. And the clearest way to solve both of them, the immediate and the long term, is for Joe Biden to be on the ballot in November. We need Joe Biden on that ballot. We want Joe Biden on that ballot. As I said last week, we have become the dog that caught the car. And now we don't know what to do with it. Now that the Democrats are chattering amongst themselves about what to do about their Biden problem, one, let them chatter, but two, we need to be rooting for one side in this, and that is to save Joe. Operation Save Joe is on the table. Did he say I could taste it? Thank you for contributing, Joe. Made me giggle. Am I wrong? 615-737-9986. We need to root for Joe. MSNBC is on our side in this. Thank you, MSNBC. We appreciate you. We have multiple Democrat defections. We need to squash those down. We need to tamp those down. We need to stop those defections. We need, you know what? If Democrats believe in democracy, there are ways that we can insist that they keep Joe on the ballot. And I am only half kidding here. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I'm half kidding. I'm dead serious here. We need Joe Biden on that ballot. Because the alternative is not going to be Kamala Harris. They're dumb. I don't think they're that dumb. There's a reason they haven't dispatched of this guy yet, because the easiest way to do that is just to go to the vice presidential candidate. It's the easiest way to transfer delegates. It's the easiest way to transfer money. They also understand that polling data indicates that she'll get her butt handed to her by Donald Trump as well. I don't know that there's an easy way to get to candidate number 3 or number 4 or number 5, but we need to stop it from happening, and we need to stop it right now. Dorothy is first up on the drive with no Brian Wilson. Matt in for Brian today. Hello, Dorothy. How are you?
Hi. All right. Yeah, we're going to crumble from within. That's on wage and taxes for everything, including the air we breathe. Trying to come up with, money for all these people coming in here that, that they'll be breathing. But I did want to comment about Rob Reiner you brought up. He pops up on my Twitter, and I thought I'd had him panned. But he popped up. He was quoting when Donald Trump got convicted, and was just, hey, it's just clear, it's obvious, the clear choice is Biden over the convicted felon. And now he's squawking, maybe we should get rid of him. And I tweeted back to him. I told him, I said, like he did before, I said, hey, Trump will leave Biden behind bars if he has to. And I put the little poo meme instead of, saying meathead, but something else head. And
well, we'll just stick with meathead
talk about
for our purposes.
They're trying to keep Joe Biden in or get him out, and having to do with the, conservative talk. They know, they're hearing what we're saying about it. Like what you're saying too. Yeah, keep the body may be easier to beat. If the amendment gets brought up, 25th, to get him out to have Kamala in, there's a lot of black voices I heard talking that they'll take their votes if people try to sidestep her and get another nominee in to overlook the black woman there. And She could possibly be the earpiece Obama talked about having in the basement. And then, like I said, other people will be running this country like Joe. He's easy. He's just there.
Well, I believe that there are, Dorothy, there are smarter people than Kamala Harris running the show. I'm going to have to release you, Dorothy. I thank you for the call. I sincerely do. And it's especially nice to know that Charlie Brown's teacher is listening to the show today and calling in to participate.
You thought that too? I thought it was just me.
It's not, Dorothy, it's not your fault. We love you. And thank you for calling in. It was just, for some reason, it was a little difficult to understand. Did you? I got the we call him meathead instead of the other kind of. I got that one.
Yeah. Luckily, we got that one.
Biden, Kamala.
Phones are not necessarily good for phones anymore. Like all these things, these wonderful little pieces of technology do, they don't do phone calls.
They don't do phone calls very well.
No.
You're right. I have found that I do a lot better. Do you even put yours up to your face anymore?
Yeah, I don't do the speakerphone. I cannot. If I talk to someone on speakerphone, I cannot understand what's being said.
Really?
I have to have it up in my ear. Yeah.
So I'm exactly the opposite. I can't do it up in my ear for I don't know why. It's just the opposite with me. So I do. But then I don't take telephone calls in public because for obvious reasons. I'm screaming into a telephone and the telephone's screaming back at me. All right, it's 3:52 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're in public and we're taking your calls today on what is the best course of action for the next 4 months for the future of the United States of America. I say Operation Save Joe. What say you? Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It is 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got sun. We are up to 96 degrees. Yikes. Music Row is hot today. We've got a full forecast that does include some rain from remnants of the storm Beryl. Yeah, rain in the forecast tomorrow. We'll also get you the latest traffic report. A Parkinson's disease expert visiting the White House 8 times over an 8-month span between last July and March of this year, including one visit with the president's personal physician. That's according to White House visitor logs. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre today, she was asked about all that. And she said the president has had a comprehensive medical report the past 3 years, and that each does include seeing a neurologist. Here's ABC's Karen Travers with more.
The White House says that as part of his last 3 physicals, President Biden's been seen by a neurologist.
Has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No.
A doctor who's a Parkinson's expert visited the White House 8 times over an 8-month span between last July and March of this year, including one visit with the president's personal physician. That's according to the White House visitor logs. The White House would not say specifically why this expert was visiting the White House.
On the international front, Iran has elected a new president. During the White House briefing today, White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby, he was asked whether this could affect relations and possible talks between the U.S. and Iran.
We're not in a position where we're willing to get back to the negotiating table with Iran just based on the fact that they've elected a new president. They're still supporting terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. They're still supporting the Houthis as the Houthis attack ships in the Red Sea. They're still attacking shipping as well. And they're still supplying drones and drone technology and drone expertise to the Russians so that the Russians can continue to kill innocent Ukrainians.
Back here in the U.S., Beryl, now a tropical storm, but it's been blamed for at least 2 deaths as it came ashore at Matagorda Bay, Texas this morning as a Category 1 hurricane with winds up to about 90 miles per hour. Out west, it's a different story. Brutal, record-breaking heat.
The daily reports of broken records are starting to sound like a broken record. Day after day of sweltering heat. Among the places recording their highest temperatures ever Sunday, Redding, California, 119 degrees, 120 degrees in Las Vegas, and Palm Springs topping out at 124 degrees, and it's not over. Temperatures in Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, and Las Vegas will continue to peak near their all-time highs over the next few days.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hello, friends. No Brian Wilson, Matt Murphy, and for Brian today and all week long. It is Monday, July 8th. You probably know that by now. Hope you're having a great afternoon so far. 4:07. We'll be here till 7 o'clock. And the reins to the great one at that time. I hope Mark Levin's back. I don't know. He was off last week as well. Brian off this week. He's having a good time in Calgary. I think the latest was about 10 minutes ago. All of his travels are being well documented by the man himself, Brian Wilson and Cabana Wife, as they are at the Calgary Stampede right now. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that.
It's pretty nice.
Horsing around up there.
Yeah, they are horsing around.
Wilson fits right in, though. He's, got his cowboy boots and cowboy hat, and he's right at home in Calgary.
He's, sure. He's about the height of that mascot that was draped around Cabana Wife I saw on Facebook. So you can check that out at Brian Wilson's Facebook site. We'll try to hold down the fort while Wilson is gallivanting in the Great White North for the better part of the week. We'll get back to Joe Biden. There was an incredible press conference. I've broken some of it down for you. Karine Jean-Pierre, I almost feel bad for this person. I don't feel bad for her because she's such a liar, but I almost do because she's being forced into a position that is just untenable for anyone. And we'll break it down in just a little bit on the Brian Wilson Show, The Drive on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. In the meantime, there was some local news that I wanted to discuss with Michael Patrick Leahy, who is the CEO and editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star. You know that Brian Wilson and Michael Patrick have been breaking down independently materials that they have received with regard to what is known as the Covenant Manifesto writings. It's not truly a manifesto in the sense that it's a series of diaries and journals and writings by this clearly mentally deranged individual that killed 6 people right here in Nashville, Tennessee in March of 2023. Michael Patrick Leahy has made it a point to attempt to have this information made available to the public because we as Americans and as Tennesseans have a right to know. There was a ruling Thursday. Oddly, this ruling came down on Independence Day. And I don't know that there's any independence in the ruling, but to speak on the matter, we welcome back to the show CEO and editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star, Michael Patrick Leahy, on The Drive. Hello, Michael. How are you, sir?
It's great to be with you, and yes, you're correct. We are a plaintiff in this case, and we went under the Tennessee Public Records Act. We asked politely for Metro Nashville government to release the writings of the Covenant killer, Audrey Elizabeth Hale, the 28-year-old female who self-identified as a transgender male who murdered 6 Nashvillians on March 27th, 2023, and then in turn, 20 minutes later, was killed by a Metro Nashville Police Department. Her journals, about 1,000 pages, have been under review by Judge Ashia Miles for a little over a year. Finally, Thursday at 11:58 p.m., she released a 60-page decision in which she said not a single one of those pages.
Uh-oh. You still there, Michael? No, we've lost a little bit of the connection. I'm going to let Chris Weber see if we can't get that connection back. As Michael Patrick Leahy was detailing, he had just started in his detail. She decided that not one single page of the writings of the Covenant School killer would be released. Obviously, Michael Patrick, as a plaintiff to the case, has a few things to say about this matter and why she should decide unilaterally that none of this should be released. So I think we've got Michael Patrick back. You were just saying that, she made this
a hard day with the radio and the phone calls there, aren't you? I'm not... Charlie Brown's teacher, but I think you lost it there for a bit. Right?
No, you're back. You sound great. So you were saying that she made this decision, not one page? Keep
not
going.
One page. It is, Matt, perhaps the worst decision in modern Tennessee jurisprudence, and it will be reversed. We will appeal it, absolutely. She set forward 2 reasons for not releasing any documents. The first, she usurped the authority of the Tennessee General Assembly, the only body that can pass legislation when signed by the governor that will make an exception to the Tennessee Public Records Act. She invented out of whole cloth this idea that the parents of the Covenant children own the copyright to the writings of Audrey Elizabeth Hale, and therefore said, no, if they don't want it out, you can't put it out. That was one of her reasons. The other reason is she said, well, it's an ongoing investigation. She cited a police lieutenant who on March 1st said, we think this investigation will be over in about 4 months. Well, 4 months ends July the 1st. It's July the 8th. There's no indication whatsoever that Metro Nashville Police Department is going to declare this to be a investigation that is over. And the other problem on this, Matt, is the judge just blindly accepted the assertion by the interveners, the parents of the Covenant kids in a trust, who, by the way, should not have been allowed to intervene in the case. That's another reversible error of the judge here. But blindly accepted the idea that Audrey Elizabeth Hale died intestate, that is, without a will, and that her parents could assign the rights to those writings to them. Turns out, we have a story today on this at the Tennessee Star, Matt. We have a copy of a suicide note that was obtained on September, on March 27th, 2023, the day of the murders, in the house that Audrey Hale lived in with her parents. And the suicide note said, please read my will. The parents have claimed that they didn't ever find a will. But wait, there's more. Apparently, sources tell us, in the documents Metro Nashville sent to the judge, there was an inventory, and one of the items on the list said will. How about that? Why does that matter? Because if she died intestate, then all of her property goes to her parents. But if she left a will and explicitly said, I want my journals to go somewhere else, then they cannot be transferred to the Covenant Children's Trust.
Well, and even, let's say for a moment that at some future date it is decided that the ultimate fate of the actual journals themselves goes back to the parents, and by extension, if the parents want to hand them over to the parents of the Covenant School, then that's all well and good. But in the process of the investigation, they become a part of the investigation, and that is our interest in terms of the public, right? I mean, our interest is, what is the police looking at? What are they looking into? What is demonstrated that potentially could have led this to be prevented? I mean, all of these things are in the public interest to know. So regardless, in my mind, and maybe I'm thinking about this wrongly, Michael, but regardless of where this material ultimately ends up, it can end up in a trash heap for all I care. I think the public has a genuine, reasonable right to know what was in the materials investigated by the Metro Nashville Police Department.
I think you're exactly correct, and that was the intent and the specificity of the Tennessee Public Records Act, with all of the exceptions that exist in it today. Now, what's interesting about this, Matt, is when the police on March 1st told the judge they were still investigating, what they said they were looking at, were there any accomplices? Pretty much seems to be not the case. And where did she get the guns? That's what they're focused on. What are they not focused on? Well, as we reported, it's very clear that from subpoenas that were issued and the documents we obtained from the chief investigator, we didn't obtain from the chief investigator, we obtained these documents legally, but the chief investigator reviewed all the materials that they obtained from Vanderbilt University Medical Center, where Audrey Elizabeth Hale had been treated on and off for 22 years, and the mental health professionals at Vanderbilt University Medical Center said, she wanted to kill her father and threatened to shoot up a school. They had a duty to warn under Tennessee statute. They did not follow that duty. What's the consequence of that? Well, there's no criminal penalty for that. There is, however, significant civil liability. The statute of limitations for that is 1 year, which would have ended March 27th, 2023, except when does that begin? Because we weren't able to report this until June of 2024.
Michael Patrick Leahy, who is CEO and editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star and Star News Digital Media, is joining us today talking about the latest developments in the Covenant Manifesto case. So I want to pull back for a moment, and you and I are in lockstep, Michael. I can't imagine that this will not be reversed on appeal. It is fraught with mistake after mistake. It begins with allowing the Covenant parents to be a party in the matter. I understand why people might get confused by that aspect of this, but they are not a party to the Open Records Act as it exists in the state of Tennessee. But be that as it may, help people understand that might be predisposed, however, listening today, why this is so important. There are some that would say to me, as I cover it on my show, as Brian covers it on his show, as you cover it so well in the Tennessee Star, well, why do we know she was insane. We know that we made mistakes. We know that certain aspects of the community dropped the ball. Explain in your words, Michael, why this is so important.
We don't want this to happen again. And it happened because of a massive breakdown of the mental health system here in the state of Tennessee. That needs to be fixed, and that needs to be fixed through legislation that the Tennessee General Assembly should consider. And there is a huge misdirection here, particularly on those on the left and some of the, I think, well-meaning but misguided Covenant parents who seem to think the problem has to do with gun control and red flag laws. That's not the case at all. Audrey Elizabeth Hale was under psychiatric treatment and psychological treatment for 22 years. She was prescribed very heavy SSRI drugs and was on them for many, many years. It's that combination, it's the poor treatment, it's the failure of mental health professionals to follow the law and warn potential victims that Audrey Elizabeth Hale had said she wanted to kill them. That's the problem, Matt. It's the mental health system breakdown. That's got to be fixed.
Do you believe that the goal is to protect Vanderbilt?
Well, I think Vanderbilt University Medical Center is a big, big entity here in town. They are intelligent people. They've got a strong track record in many, many areas of medicine. However, they have known since June of 2023 that Metro Nashville Police Department has the information that mental health professionals at Vanderbilt University Medical Center failed in their duty to warn. So I'm sure they've undertaken action to mitigate the financial risk to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. What actions they've undertaken, we don't know. We have questions out to them actually today. And so we'll have a story about this tomorrow. What actions have they taken to mitigate their own financial risk? Have they paid off anybody? We don't know that, but I suspect that may be something we find out.
After the decision over the holiday weekend by the judge, the Chancery judge in this case, Judge Miles, what are next steps for you and the Tennessee Star and Star News Digital?
Well, we're going to appeal. We have 30 days to file the appeal, and we're going to win because the judge had absolutely no authority to invent an exception to the Tennessee Public Records Act. It is not her purview. It is the purview of the Tennessee General Assembly and the governor of the state.
Very quickly, while I have you, Michael, an unrelated story that you covered on the Tennessee Star website, and I encourage people to go and read the full story. And we're planning on talking about this in the 5 o'clock hour. This group that descended upon Nashville over the holiday season, the incuriosity or the inability on the part of leftist media to figure out who these people are and to dox them when it doesn't seem to fit them is amazing to me. You've got a great piece questioning who these individuals are and what their motivations are. What are your thoughts about this? I guess it's the second time that it's happened in Nashville that a group of masked individuals claiming to be part of a broader organization come into Nashville, they march around, they get back in their U-Hauls and they leave. What do you make of all of this?
I think it's clearly a false flag operation. You know, the first time they did this a couple months ago, do you know who the very first person was to grab the video of their appearance?
Justin Jones.
Yes, indeed. Just curious.
Just
right?
happened to be there. Yeah.
Just happened to be there. So this is a bit of performance art, little kabuki theater, and it's clearly designed. And although the local regime media, the various local television stations, all owned by big-time globalist out-of-state corporations, they're parroting this. Oh, there's the threat of white nationalism. It's not the case at all. This is a performative theater act, and they trot them out every now and then when the left seems to believe they're losing the moral high ground. Well, they are losing the moral high ground, and this is absolutely a joke. By the way, if they're transported here in Nashville and they're all in a U-Haul truck in the back, that's actually illegal. Why didn't Metro Nashville Police arrest them? Because if they were arrested, they'd have to take their masks off, and we'd get their names, and we'd find out with whom they're actually and really and truly affiliated.
Which is something I would love, love, love to see. Great commentary, Michael, as always. We'll talk to you again very soon. Take care.
Matt, great to be with you today.
There's Michael Patrick Leahy of the Tennessee Star. We'll be back in a moment to dissect some of that. It's 24 after the hour on Super Talk.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Today's White House briefing dominated by questions as to whether President Biden is being treated for Parkinson's disease. And we'll have today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. It's 28 after 4 right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The drive continues. Brian Wilson off this week. Matt Murphy in for Wilson. Des Dickerson in for me. Normally you hear me from noon until 3 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just heard from Michael Patrick Leahy, who is the CEO of the Tennessee Star. I have a difficult time engaging in the reading of certain materials that have been leaked regarding the Covenant School shooting. And I can understand why you would have a difficult time digesting some of that material. At some point, crazy is crazy. At some point, evil is evil. And I don't need to hear repeated writings or see repeated writings. I don't need to hear from that evil to understand what we're dealing with. At the same time, as I've repeatedly said, not only about Michael Patrick's reporting, but also Brian Wilson's reporting on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, it is incredibly important that we make a stand with regard to this material and the public's right to know the investigation and how it went down and what materials were in the possession of the Metro Nashville Police Department and what was and was not actively being withheld by that department and the FBI and others. We need to know what sort of misses occurred in this individual's life. This is not even necessarily to blame those individuals who were a part of missing the opportunity to catch this individual before the ultimate evil act was committed. It is incredibly important that we protect the public's right to know. The government is predisposed to prevent us from this information if they are allowed to do so. And so I applaud Michael Patrick and I applaud Brian Wilson for their efforts. It is 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is indeed 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny. We are a scorching 96 degrees. A full forecast and traffic are on the way. According to the White House visitors logs, a Parkinson's disease expert visited the White House 8 times over an 8-month span between last July and March of this year. In today's White House briefing, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, she was asked about all that today.
We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The president has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist.
Now let's turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News Wall Street, now stocks continue their march into record territory. The Dow closed down 31 points, but the S&P and NASDAQ closed at all-time highs. The S&P up 6, the NASDAQ up 51. Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to a criminal fraud charge as a result of 2 deadly crashes involving its 737 MAX jetliners. A federal judge will decide whether to accept the plea, and if he or she does impose a sentence that is part of the aerospace giant's deal with the Justice Department. The crashes killed more than 300 people. The TSA screened more than 3 million passengers Sunday. That was the most in a single day. Ford is recalling more than 4,300 2024 F-150 pickups. It's because the windshield may not have been properly bonded to the vehicle, and that could allow it to detach, and that could increase the risk of an injury.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, They want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, the drive in progress, 438. A good afternoon. Hope everything's going well. Matt Murphy in for Brian. You know, Mandis is off this week, too. Johnny B was in for Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News. And apparently, unbeknownst to me, I just discovered this some moments ago. Dan and crew, the Mandis clan, are at the Atlantic Ocean. And the only reason I know this, Chris Webber, is because apparently the Atlantic Ocean won, Dan Mandis 0. So far, if you're keeping score at home. Mandis has announced that he's decided, don't make me laugh, he's decided to get LASIK surgery, is what he said.
And the reason why, Matt, I know, but you know, maybe you need to do that Save Joe Biden trumpet call or something.
Can we Operation Save Dan Mandis sound? Thank you. The ocean stole his glasses, apparently.
He fell into the ocean, apparently.
That's I don't know why. Why is that so funny? I don't know why that's so funny.
Because none of us are really surprised that it happened, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you know Dan, it's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, has anybody seen my glasses? The ocean has seen
They were here just a minute ago.
So apparently, yes, Dan's on vacation, and he's at the Atlantic Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean has taken his glasses from him. I just want to know what that life is going to be like for however long they're on vacation. Because Mandis is not, that's not like a casual, I need my glasses to read a menu, right? That's a more serious.
You don't think he's the type of guy that would have a backup pair?
Yeah, have a spare, you would think, huh?
No, he's not.
I don't think
I don't think he is.
I don't think Mandis. I think he might have like a broken pair that the bullies broke back in the day that he saved back.
It's got the Scotch tape in the middle.
just as a reminder.
With that one cracked lens working across the. You can just wear those pair till we get you some new. I'm just picturing that scene in Christmas Story where Ralphie. I found these on the mantle for you or wherever. Ralphie loses his glasses, and then he eventually breaks his glasses. He pulverized, I think is what he says, at the end of the show. Anyway, let's all wish Mandis the best. Apparently, no, I didn't get I did get a response. I asked him at 4:35 today, are you still looking for your glasses? And Dan has written back, and he said, LOL, they now belong to the sea.
They belong to the sea.
So I can't see a darn thing. See what he did there?
Yeah.
Oh, well, good for you. That's great. Hopefully he gets some LASIK and that clears up that issue. I need glasses. I shouldn't joke because I ought to, by all rights, have glasses. And I had them when I was a kid, and I got rid of them in my college years because I thought they made me look dorky, and I just haven't gone back to them. No, I can't see a single thing. I mean, I can't read it. Can't read a thing from here.
Yeah, see, now, I wear contacts. If I did not have contact lenses in, I would, like, literally, you have to be within a foot of my face for me to actually see anything clearly.
See, and I over-exaggerate. I mean, I can read what's on the screen, but it gets blurry as it gets out there. I mean, have you always had them from childhood?
I've worn glasses since I was probably 8.
How long have you had contacts?
Since I was a senior in high school, so almost 30 years.
Did it take a minute to get used to them?
No. Well, I mean, just the physical.
The physical, them in.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little weird at first, and you kind of feel it at first, but it went away very quickly.
Yeah, you get used to that quickly.
Has contact technology advanced over the years?
Not as far as I know. I mean,
do you take them out every day?
Yeah, I wear the ones that I throw them away at the end of every night. And the reason I do that is because I used to wear the monthlies where you would change it once a month. I was so bad about it that I got shamed by eye doctors because it's not healthy to keep wearing the same set of lenses over and over and over and over and over and over and over for months on end.
My father-in-law got one contact stuck to his eyeball because of that.
Yeah, now see, I never slept in them. Now, that can happen if you sleep in them.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
never
they
do
can,
that.
They can actually slide to the back of your eyeball.
That's
Oh,
true,
and you
Jay.
can see your brain clearly.
Perfectly.
Well, I have
or lack thereof in some of our cases.
I had the LASIK surgery, but I still have to use, for certain distances, I need the glasses. I need the readers for up close.
Did the LASIK treat you well?
Oh, yeah. I can see distances beautifully. And I could, from what I understand, have elected to do like my contacts were, one eye for vision distance, one eye for vision up close.
See, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I did that with contacts, and your eyes adjust. And apparently there are LASIK procedures that will do the same thing, but I elected to just get the long-distance vision.
You know, back in the day, this used to be a survival of the fittest deal, where you folks that couldn't see, you just got swarmed by the lions on the Serengeti, and then you were done.
You just never saw it coming.
I'd say that, Jay, because I'm jealous, because I went to a LASIK provider in Birmingham in an attempt to correct my vision without having to resort to contacts or whatnot. And I think I'm a candidate, but because during the testing, I was so fidgety and I was so against anything being near my face.
Yeah, I get it.
The doctor said, I don't think it's a good idea for us to go through with this surgery.
Yeah. I mean, I had the astigmatism and all that, and apparently there was a time when you weren't a candidate for LASIK, but that has since changed.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
I'd say that the LASIK surgery has come a long way over the last 15 or so years. I think it's a lot more, a quicker procedure, easier procedure, and a better results.
Well, they can go in there, and I don't mean to gross anybody out, but they can go in there and they can literally cut and then pull it back and then fix the inside and then put it back on. And I mean, ew.
Yeah, it was nothing to it. I mean, it did smell like burning hair, though.
Because you're awake?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't feel a darn thing.
See, I got the heebie-jeebies when the guy did the thing really close, and I had to hold my eyes still, and they do the poof.
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah,
poof.
they do that every time.
I couldn't handle the poof.
Yeah.
And the doctor, Dr. Michelson was his name, he said, if you can't handle the poof, I don't know that this is something that we want to move forward with, because you're a little too jumpy. And if even under sedation, if you do that while I've got a laser in your eyeball, it's probably going to end badly for you.
Yeah.
So good for him. One way or the other, Dan, we hope that you find your glasses in the Atlantic Ocean. It's not that big. Keep looking, buddy. I wish you the best of luck.
They're right there.
I mean, yeah.
Missed it. Oh, there they are. Oh,
just feel around with your foot. When you feel something large and slimy,
that's it. Yeah.
You're onto it. All right, speaking of large and slimy, there was a large and slimy contingent of what I would consider to be actors in Nashville. And I want to talk about this in a moment. In the 5 o'clock hour, if you're just joining us, and I know many of you come and go, we're going to go over the ridiculous press conference engaged by Karine Jean-Pierre and John Kirby. And John Kirby was doing such a better job than Karine Jean-Pierre. She had to interrupt him and get him back out of the way because John Kirby is much better suited to do the job of press secretary, even though he's lying, than Karine Jean-Pierre, a.k.a. Claude. We call her Claude because that's what Congressman John Rose called her. The media in this town, they have bought into this idea that this group that came to Nashville Sunday was a group of white nationalists. Now, I guess that's how they describe themselves, but I don't buy it for a minute. And I think there's a lot of questions about where these individuals are coming from and why they've decided to come to Nashville that aren't being asked by mainstream media because they're perfectly comfortable with the narrative that they have presented without asking any additional questions. In the meantime, Mayor Freddie O'Connell spoke out, saying a number of people shockingly comfortable publicly identifying themselves as white nationalists marched through Nashville. My first priority in this moment, as always, was the safety of Nashvillians. I refuse to platform hate actors. I have no interest in giving any group or member the attention that they seek. O'Connell, labeling the members of the group as Nazis, recognized that members of the group were exercising their First Amendment rights. The group did nothing illegal, but said, quote, going forward, we're exploring how we can thoroughly address unlawful activity of the group and prevent it in the future. Is it or is it not? Here's my question for all of you. Now, I understand after 2.5 years, almost 3 years in our community and in the state of Tennessee, I should know more than I did when I first got here, but I admit that I don't know the answer to this question. Is it or is it not illegal? And I understand COVID-19 screws all of this up, but is it or is it not illegal for you to mask yourself like this in public? I mean, I guess maybe it's not. And I don't necessarily know the answer to the question I'm about to ask. Normally I would, but would we not want to make that so? Here's the thing. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. And I believe unless you are directly threatening the life or health of others, unless you are directly adversely impacting other individuals in your actions, that you should be able to feel any way you want to feel. And I get to react any way that I want to react to how you are publicly. In other words, if you want to be a big, huge, fat racist in the United States of America, per our Constitution, you have the right to that decidedly unpopular, misguided, bigoted opinion. But don't expect that you're going to be treated nicely as a result of your opinion. In other words, racism should never be illegal. Now, we could have that argument. Now, there are some that just wait for these moments to try to characterize what I just said as support of racism. So I want to be really clear here. Racism is disgusting. It is small-minded. It is for narrow-minded individuals. Bigotry and racism have no place at the same time. I believe in America that believes in freedom enough, that believes in the ability for people to freely think for themselves and believe as they want or choose. So first and foremost, if we take these individuals at their word that they are somehow white nationalist and that equates to some level of bigotry or racism, well, that's not illegal. And overreacting is not going to help anything. I don't necessarily believe that this is anything other than a false flag operation. When you have groups of individuals that are dressed similarly, that all cover their faces, and that's the big thing for me, that while you might have every opportunity in the world to present how dumb you are, how misinformed, how unintelligent, how bigoted, how prejudiced, or yes, how racist, or whatever you happen to be preaching, whether it is popular speech or unpopular speech, the entire premise of the First Amendment is to protect unpopular speech. There's no need for the First Amendment if all speech that is given publicly is popular speech. Because by definition, it is popular. It is the unpopular speech that we must fight to protect because that's the easiest to get on the part of the government. All that to say, you can defend the First Amendment without defending these narrow-minded SOBs that might descend upon Nashville and do their business. Whatever the motivation for that business is remains to be seen because our mainstream media doesn't seem interested in finding out who these people are. Surely someone can find out who these people are, despite the fact that most of them masked themselves. And that's the big issue that I have. If you truly believe, as you say that you do, and you are men enough or man enough to publicly display yourself on city streets in the city of Nashville, then I would suggest you man up and grow a pair and show your face to the public as well. If you believe in the values that you purport to believe in, you shouldn't have a problem with that. If you are willing to stand up and defend whatever is coming out of your mouth, one would presume that you would want your mouth uncovered so that people can understand you clearly. They don't do that, which is a huge red flag for me that this is a false flag operation. Your thoughts on this? I'm ready to hear them. 615-737-9986. It's The Drive on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds. We've actually got some thunderstorms in the area. I see Clarksville on radar getting hit pretty well right now, and also Fairview being bared down on with some storms. A full forecast and the latest traffic report are upcoming. It's 95 degrees here on Music Row. Over 2 million Texans are without power today after Hurricane Beryl came ashore earlier this morning. The aftermath of the now tropical storm, well, it could have been a lot worse, but coastal Texas prepared for catastrophic damage, and power crews were called in ahead of time before Beryl got there, and they were ready for action. Here is Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo.
I'm told there will be boots on the ground. These 7,000 crews will be here in the region working on our lines, working on our poles, and working to do as much as possible to address the power issue.
The first responders were busy following the Category 1 landfall, making 47 high water rescues. Unfortunately, 2 deaths by downed trees have been attributed to the storm. A Parkinson's disease expert visiting the White House 8 times over an 8-month span between last July and March of this year. That's according to the visitor logs at the White House. The press secretary for the White House, Karine Jean-Pierre, today was asked about all that, saying the president has had a comprehensive medical report done the past 3 years, and that each includes seeing a neurologist who has found no sign of Parkinson's.
The president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
Turning now to the Middle East, Iran has elected a new president. During the White House briefing today, White House National Security Communications Advisor John Kirby asked whether this would affect possible U.S. talks with Iran.
We're not in a position where we're willing to get back to the negotiating table with Iran just based on the fact that they've elected a new president. They're still supporting terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. They're still supporting the Houthis as the Houthis attack ships in the Red Sea. They're still attacking shipping as well. And they're still supplying drones and drone technology and drone expertise to the Russians so that the Russians can continue to kill innocent Ukrainians.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. It is indeed The Drive. No Brian Wilson. It is Matt Murphy in for Brian this day and this week. It's 5:07. Good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well so far. I'm attempting to do the goodest job I can possibly do, subbing in for Brian Wilson on The Drive. The goodest job I can possibly do. That's a word, right?
Setting the bar low, I see.
I think that's a word.
Is it?
I mean, if it weren't a word, the President of the United States would not be uttering it, obviously. If it's said by the President, then it's good enough for this little radio show here in Nashville, Tennessee on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You don't believe it? You don't believe it's a word? I think George Stephanopoulos cleared this up,
Mr.
Aaron.
President, I've never seen a president at 36% approval get reelected.
Well, I don't believe that's my approval rate. That's not what our polls show.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
Wait for it.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
I stand corrected.
That sounded like goodest to me. Let's just make sure.
As long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as
I did the goodest job.
I did the goodest job as I know I can do.
I did the goodest job that I know I could do. I stand by that statement. Thank you, Mr. President. Operation Save Joe! Thank you. We need to save this guy. This guy needs to be on the ballot against Donald Trump in November, and you and I owe it to ourselves to do everything that we can possibly to make sure that happens.
Matt, have you seen where there have been media outlets saying that the Biden campaign has been pressuring them to change that in the official transcripts?
Where I'm going.
To good as, right?
That's right, which still doesn't make any sense.
No.
But there's a Nashville connection to all of this, and I wonder if everyone knows the Nashville connection. T.J. Ducklow, who was at one point the spokesperson for the Munchkin mayor.
You can say that now. He's no longer in office.
I'm allowed to say that now?
Yeah.
Brian Wilson apparently said it while he was in office, did he not?
I wasn't supposed to.
Much to the chagrin of everyone around the radio station, and especially those in the bottom floor area. But what was Cooper? John Cooper.
Yeah.
John, was it John or Jim? It was John.
John.
Okay, sure. So John Cooper was then mayor. T.J. Ducklow was the chief of staff, I guess, for then Mayor John Cooper in the city of Nashville. He's now a spokesperson for the Biden campaign, believe it or not. And he's the one that is pushing back against Maureen Dowd of the New York Times. Maureen Dowd wrote a piece on July 7th. It's a pretty good one for the New York Times called Joe Biden in the goodest bunker ever. Or no, I'm sorry. Joe Biden, her piece was, it's in the goodest bunker ever. Joe Biden in the goodest bunker ever. There were several other people that wrote articles using the word goodest. Maureen Dowd is by no stretch of the imagination a moderate, and she's certainly no conservative. She is a liberal, a classic liberal. She believes in big government. She believes in the Democrat Party. She believes in protecting said same, and she will do everything in her power to do so. But there is no protecting this president of the United States. And so she wrote a piece about calling out Joe Biden for using the word goodest, and you just heard it with your own ears. And now the Biden administration and the Biden campaign collectively, and those are two things that ought to be separated. There should be a wall of separation between the two, but I think they commingle the two quite often, frankly. They are now taking it upon themselves to get to the real issues and clap back against media that would suggest that Joe Biden said goodest. Journalists, writes Maureen Dowd, are going to be appropriately resistant to making corrections based on what the White House asserts Biden said or its version of what Biden intended to say. She writes, and is correct, it is not our job to play mad libs with the President of the United States. Ronald Reagan's press aides would issue a lot of clarifications after news conferences, but those were not because it was hard to hear what he was saying. Even in his 70s, he spoke in a clear baritone. His clarifications were more to correct remarks he made, as when he said trees cause more pollution than automobiles do. As a matter of fact, earlier in the story, she indicated that the New York Times chief White House correspondent, Peter Baker, told her that he has now started using the translation headsets while on overseas trips, even when he's a mere 15 or 20 feet away from the president, because they offered a magnified volume when Biden starts to mumble, which he always does. But back to this column that she wrote. In her Saturday column, she said, I quoted Biden's line to ABC's George Stephanopoulos about how he would feel if Trump were sworn in as president because he refused to step aside. I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job I know I can do. That's what this is all about. Now, goodest isn't a word, writes Maureen Dowd. But my researcher, Andrew Trunsky, and I listened to the video. Our ears up against the computer 10 separate times, and that's what it sounded like. We also checked with the ABC News transcript, and that's the word they used. Times News reporters and reporters for other media outlets also took their cue from the ABC transcript. The confusion was so universal that Axios Saturday said that there were two different versions. Mike Allen's newsletter used goodest. Another story used, I did as good a job as I know I can do. After my column posted Saturday, T.J. Ducklow, the aforementioned, a Biden campaign spokesperson, emailed Maureen Dowd of the New York Times to, quote, flag that the ABC News had updated its transcript to read, I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good as job as I know I can do. That's what this is all about. So the Biden people, and the reason I bring all of this up, Joe Biden, the current president of the United States of America and leader of the free world, and his campaign staff have nothing better to do, as embarrassing as he is, as to correct the New York Times that he did not say that he did the goodest job that he knew how. That he, in fact, said this. I'm going to read it verbatim. This is what they demand the correction be made to. I'll feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the good as job as I know I can do. That's what this is about. Can I get an Operation Save Joe? Thank you. So the best that the White House can come up with, instead of just leaving it alone that the man misspoke, he said the wrong word. Instead of just saying, well, obviously, and this is what you say in these moments. Well, guys, obviously the president of the United States knows that goodest isn't a word, but, you know, sometimes even the best of us slip up a minute or two, and obviously he slipped up and he said goodest. He didn't mean it.
I did not say that. I did not say that.
Natural fact. Instead of that, they're demanding that the minions that they have controlled over these many years get back in line. You see, the herd is out of the pen now. The media horde that has protected the Biden administration for so long, they are no longer protecting the Biden administration. As a matter of fact, the White House press corps seems to have a little bit of egg on its face because they have protected the president of the United States against these accusations for years. Not just the New York Times, but other organizations like ABC and NBC and CBS and MSNBC and the rest of, hashtag never CNN. All of these media outlets and organizations have protected Joe Biden for years. And now they're being exposed as the liars that we truly know that they are. I mean, listen, this was 4 months ago. The president of the United States called in to Morning Joe this morning with Joe Scarborough, and I have no idea where the other one was. What's her name? Mika?
Mika.
Is it Mika?
I can't remember.
Well, she's the goodest thing on that show. So this is 4 months ago. This is in March. March to April, April to May, May to June. Yeah, 4 months ago. Early March. Just listen in.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent.
He's talking about Joe Biden.
He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, I don't know if people know this or not, Biden used to be a hothead.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what? I don't really care. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth.
Okay, let's listen.
And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Easy, Joe.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it. And
he said, he said, roll the tape. He said, roll the tape.
Because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you
Dave,
if you can't handle the truth.
Shouldn't say that, Joe.
This
listen
version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years.
There you go. So Joe Scarborough has known him for years. This is the best Joe ever. This is the best version of Joe ever. That was 4 months ago. 4 months ago. He knew that he was a lying SOB the moment this garbage spewed out of his mouth. They've been protecting this guy for years because they hate the other guy so much. And if you hate the other guy so much, just be honest with the American people and say, look, we understand that Joe Biden couldn't find his butt with a flashlight and a compass. We understand that he wouldn't know the White House from a hole in the ground unless he was told any differently. As a matter of fact, I had to put it this way to me some time ago, well, over the break. Ask yourself honestly, if you dropped Joe Biden, if you took Joe Biden and dropped him off at the airport with $5,000 in cash in his pocket, do you think he could manage to get on a flight somewhere? I'm serious. You pull up to the Nashville, the B&A, to the departures, and you let him out and you hand him his envelope full of cash and you say, bye, Joe, and just leave him and put a camera on him. What do you think would happen? I mean, not only is the guy in the midst of early onset dementia, or maybe not so early onset dementia, and that's sad, but he also hasn't had a real job in the last 50 years. When's the last time he booked a flight? Do you think he has identification on him? Would he be able to understand what the screening process at TSA was? I guarantee you he'd find the ice cream stand. Now that we can all be sure of. Embarrassing. Earlier, speaking of embarrassing, we were discussing these so-called white nationalists that came to town, and a number of you wanted to speak on this. And while Douglas is on the line, I don't want you to have to hold any longer. Douglas, good afternoon, sir. You're on the drive. How are you?
How you doing? Enjoying the show, Matt. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, listen, I want to say a couple things. Then I got an offer for you. So don't get rid of me till I make an offer to you, okay? Listen, I don't know anything about the group marching in Nashville. I read a couple paragraphs. I got a sense of what they advocate for. You know, you're poo-pooing them a little bit because they're masked, but you know darn good and well that if they came in and identified themselves, they would be destroyed in today's vicious liberal climate. They'd probably lose their jobs, debanked, deplatformed. It'd be awful on them and their families. Would you give me that point?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I do not. I do not. I'll let you continue, but I don't give you that point at all. If you are, if you believe in your country and you believe that you are right in your way of thinking, you unmask yourself and you defend your standpoint and you defend your point of view. And if your employer takes action against you for your personal private beliefs, then you can take action against your employer. You can go find someone else to work. I understand. I understand the general sense of where you're coming from, but I don't know that these are honest actors. But anyway, go ahead.
I think in theory that's the way it ought to be. I think other people don't. We know darn good and well that if you're outside the strike zone, that's what happens. Listen, let me make my point real quick. Racism of any kind is unacceptable, but discussions about race realism and the negative ramifications of one race or another are only allowed when you're talking about white people.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you.
Okay, now, every ethnic group in America is allowed to advocate on behalf of their people and the preservation of their culture, except white people.
What's white culture?
Well, Western European culture.
I mean, but what is that?
Well, Athens and Rome, for starters. How much time you got?
I'm just curious what you would describe as, and I'm not arguing with you. I'm just genuinely curious what you would describe as white culture that is exclusively the domain or the dominion of white people or Caucasian people.
Oh, I didn't say it was the exclusive domain of. I'm just saying that every group gets to advocate on behalf of their people, the preservation of their culture, and to make sure that their people are not being penalized for their race or giving up something.
I don't know. I don't know that Asians don't have much cachet in that regard.
I'm sorry. Say again. Asians?
I don't. I'm just thinking aloud as you're talking.
No, but the average income of Asians is higher than that of your average white.
Yeah, that's why I brought them up.
They're doing fine. They're being admitted to our colleges and universities because their IQs are higher than white people and a lot of
when
other.
You say our, you mean American, right?
No, they earned it. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm saying they've earned it. Okay, in a meritocratic system.
Yeah, no, sure.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm glad we've gotten this far. If this is a conversation that you're willing to have on the air with somebody that's more eloquent in this than I am, and I think you ought to be, get me with your producer. And I know that, I tell you what, I would advise anybody out there that's interested in a cogent, reasonable, fact-based conversation, go to American Renaissance online, amren.com.
Are you a representative of the organization?
No, gosh, no. I've been reading their stuff for years, though. And it's very well thought out, extremely well thought out. I would recommend.
Okay, well, hold on. What's the website again?
Amren, AMREN.com.
All right, you hold on, Douglas. You hold on, okay? But no, I'm going to bring you back on the radio in a minute after I look at this website, and then we'll talk. Sound good to you? Sound good to me. 523 on Super Talk.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
More Democrats calling for President Biden to forego his campaign. The mayor of Houston, Texas, comments on a drowning victim from Tropical Storm Beryl, and a plan to assist Nashville parents with child care costs is being explored. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you much, Jay Harper. We'll get to your newscast in just a moment, minute or two. Douglas is on the line out of Columbia talking about this. We were discussing the issues involving this group, whomever they are, whether it's a false flag organization or not, a masked group of individuals, at least most of them were masked, coming into town and walking around town. They did nothing illegal, and I want to stress that you can be, you can have any reaction you want to any group of people that you want, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're doing anything illegal. And I'm looking at the website that you recommended, Douglas, and I'll have to take a look at it. I'm unfamiliar with the organization. I guess it was started back in the early 1990s. Is that right?
Go to the About Us tab. Start there.
Yeah, sure. This is an organization that is focused on race relations. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And as I said, for you or anybody else, start with the About Us.
How many races are there?
God, I have no idea. I have no idea. You might want to ask.
Well, if your basic premise of an organization that you're promoting is the idea that the white race is being attacked by other races of people, don't you think that we need to know how many races of people there are?
Well, I didn't say that. That's not my premise.
That's most certainly American Renaissance's premise.
Attacked by, and that's it. It's a pretty narrow interpretation. Is there an Asian race?
For me, my point is this, Douglas, and
well, no.
Hold on. Listen to me clearly. I am an individual. I'm Matt Murphy. I do not belong to groups that would consider me as a member. I've long said that. It's an old Groucho Marx line. But I do not believe in a groupthink dynamic along the lines that this organization thinks along. I just don't.
Do you have interests that you care about because you are a Tennessean? Because you are a Nashvilleian? Mm-hmm. Do you have these that matter to you because?
Well, my grandfather was full-blooded Cherokee Indian. Let's go there.
Well, all I'm saying is we all have things that we relate to that are part of us, that are part of our reality.
Right.
We're not just free floating in society where we're all treating as look.
So you can understand. So you can understand how the Native American culture would look at the white people with a little bit of disdain.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't.
Up there that are willing to air that grievance. Absolutely. You might not believe it. If you read your history a little, you'll find out that there's reason for that to go the other way too, especially in the state of Tennessee.
Are Jewish people white?
You know what? I'm not the arbiter of that.
You're the one that brought all this up, though. You asked me. You said that you wanted to have a discussion about it, and you brought it up, and I'm just trying to have a discussion about it now.
Yes, I believe they are. Although that's a religious faith. That's a religious faith.
Okay, so you wouldn't look at Jewish people as a race of people?
Yeah, I suppose I would.
So then they're not white?
Well, no, they're not mutually exclusive.
So they're white and Jewish?
They could very well be.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Douglas, I'll look into that. Look, there is no question that you are right in one thing that you said. That there is a singular group of individual that can be criticized and destroyed with impunity in the United States of America today, and that is a straight white Christian male. You are correct about that. It's 32 after the hour on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It is 5:32, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, and there are some showers and thunderstorms in the area. We are looking at 94 degrees. The latest traffic report and a weather forecast are coming up. Despite President Biden's insistence that he's not dropping out of the race, some Democrats in Congress still wish that he would.
Washington State Democrat Adam Smith becomes the sixth member of the president's party in the House to openly call for him to drop out of the race. A top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee says in a statement that Joe Biden's continued candidacy would be a mistake. Virginia Senator Mark Warner, in his own statement, says the president needs to more aggressively make his case. And John Tester of Montana says Biden must now prove he's up to the job for another 4 years.
Down in Houston, Texas, the mayor there, John Whitmire, told a news conference that one of the deaths attributed to flooding from Hurricane Beryl is a civilian employee of the Houston Police Department who was called into work for storm duty but got stuck in road flooding.
Knew he was in trouble, called HPD friends for help, and I've been there all afternoon watching his colleagues retrieve his body from his submerged car.
Turning now back to the Nashville area, child care costs are on the rise, but Metro Nashville is studying a plan to help parents.
News Channel 5 says Metro has earmarked $200,000 for a child care study at a time when the average cost is rising in this country, jumping by 9% last year, according to a report by Bloomberg. But it's not just the cost this Metro study will look at to help parents. News Channel 5 says a Vanderbilt University and United Way study found that child care options are limited, with Davidson County needing to double the number of child care spots to accommodate every child 5 and younger. The study showing the greatest need is in southeast Nashville, a study claiming to show how hard it is to find regulated, home-based, or extended hours child care. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is The Drive, Super Talk 99.7 WT, and my name is Matt Murphy, not Brian Wilson. Brian back next Monday. He's off this week. Donald Trump and his team have remained very quiet during this Biden implosion, and rightly so. Trump now speaking out as to how that is a measured reaction, and they are set to reclaim the white-hot spotlight as the Republican National Convention is set to begin 1 week from now, and Donald Trump is set to name a vice presidential running mate. Very exciting. More on that coming up in just a moment. More on the ridiculous press conference that happened earlier today involving Karine Jean-Pierre in the briefing room, in the White House briefing room. Really quickly, I'm not trying to be hard on the guy that called us. I'm willing to have any discussion about anything at any time with anyone. I am a fierce independent. I am fiercely resistant to any level of groupthink. I always have been, and I always will be. And when you start talking about how one race of people think about another race of people, I can think of nothing that raises a red flag more quickly in me with regard to my reaction to groupthink than that. So, for those of you on the membersnutrition.com super text line that are criticizing me because I had a tone with the guy, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he brought up this organization that is primarily a race-based organization that looks into matters involving attacks or assaults on the white race or Caucasian race of people against the betterment of that. I just asked how many races of people there were. That's all. I do my best to judge individuals based on their character. I admit that I have prejudice. We all do. We all do. Sometimes prejudice is good. Oh, absolutely, sometimes prejudice is a good thing. Prejudice, if you break the word down, it means to prejudge a situation, circumstance, or a person. So if my wife and I were preparing to go home from a night at the theater and we decided to cut down an alleyway in order to get to our car more quickly, and I see three individuals all dressed in nice suits, or maybe, two in suits and one in a nice really dressed up, dressed to the nines, as if they were going out to the theater themselves, versus two hypotheticals. I see three individuals that look disheveled and shady and dressed in a way that does not indicate to me that maybe they have a home. Would I evaluate whether we would cut through that alleyway differently based on the appearance of the three individuals that I just described to you? Yes, I would. I would prejudge that situation. Now, maybe I would be proven wrong. Maybe I would get mugged by the three people in the nice clothes, and I would have to reevaluate my prejudice. Maybe the people that were dressed nasty or looked thuggish, maybe those people were good, honest, hardworking people. And I should be ashamed of myself for prejudging a situation based on the individuals that I just described to you. But I would be lying to you, and I think you would be lying to yourselves if you didn't suggest that you would prejudge that situation too. And maybe you would come to a different conclusion. The point is, prejudice is not always a negative thing. Prejudice exists. Use prejudice for good, not for evil. And it is up to you to do that. But racism and bigotry, those are always garbage takes. Garbage. And no matter how much you've had any of that splatter on you, it does not elevate the conversation or society at all to splatter it back just because. And so whatever we think of the motivations of the individuals involved in yesterday's ridiculous display in downtown Nashville, understand something. This is not moving the ball forward in any way. And any group of people that are not proud enough of their viewpoint to show their faces, you are scum to me. Okay? If you are proud enough to get out of a U-Haul and parade your butts, your happy butts around downtown Nashville, but you're not proud of your viewpoints enough to show your face, then get back in your U-Haul and go back to whatever hole you crawled out of. Until you man up and grow a pair and have the ability to show your face to express your viewpoint, I don't want to hear it. And that comes from somebody that exposes myself on a daily basis. And yes, you can mark that last comment and play it at your leisure. Thank you. Thank you. Did I mention that his operation saved Joe? God, he's so good. He's so good. I did the last part just to try to get Weber. And he's not having any of it.
Gonna have to get up pretty early in the morning.
I guess so. Oh, and let's see. Hey, Matt, according to God, there's only one race of people. No, I get that. 2253 on the membersnutrition.com super text line says, nobody really cares about your opinion on this matter. Oh. I hope you're not talking to me. There are only 4 races: black, white, Asian, Aboriginal. Then it's broken down into ethnicities. Yeah, I mean, according to those types of people that study this sort of thing, I've heard 3, I've heard 4. I understand. I understand that typically for those, and there are many other much more smart people than me. I sound like Joe Biden, that can break this down for you. But it's my understanding that the breakdown is typically Caucasian, black, also known as Negroid, and that is a technical term. That's not me using the term. That is what it's called, Caucasian, Negroid, Asian or Mongoloid, and then Aboriginal. And they separate Aboriginal for some reason. I don't know why they do it, but they do, because apparently the Australian people evolved in a different manner than anyone else on the face of the earth. So there you have it. 615-737-9986. While we're going down this road, let's talk to Eric in White House. Hey, Eric.
Hey, how you doing? Great meeting you and Chris Hand down there at the Steeplechase, as well as the rock store.
Oh, man, Eric, house. You were a rock star.
Dude, no, it was awesome. We met Phil Valentine years ago. I mean, when you hear truth, it should draw people near to it. But you nailed it on the Caucasian, Negroid, Mongoloid, and Indian. That was what they originally were, and now they're mixing words, and they're, the Mongoloid, you have some in China that might be Indian, Chinese, some are Mongoloid, Chinese. I mean, that's all just been from the melting of the world. But those races weren't based on this one's better. It was based on, oh, by the way, I got my degree at TSU, primarily black school in 2000, and they were teaching truth then, and there wasn't a racist bone in anyone's body when I was on campus. And now they've just taken it as a means to separate, because none of those races have to do with religions. They have to do with the demographic you live in, the geography you live in, the skin tone that you have, which evolved because of the sunlight or lack of sunlight. And that's all race had to do with. It had nothing to do with he's black, so I don't like him, or it has to do with the ignorance. And it wasn't there when I went to TSU. I don't know that it is now, but based on all of the inciting of hate because of race or your color or whatever your economic status is, I've just watched this stuff just fall apart over the years. I mean, I grew up in Detroit. One of my professors, Professor Benjamin Kirk, we called him Prof. Kirk at TSU. Since, he came to our wedding, played the trumpet, his family did. It was just awesome times. Well, he's since been murdered because he's trying to help guys that had been out of prison in his neighborhood, right on his porch in front of his wife. None of that had to do with racism. The guy who murdered him was black. And that's the problem. Everyone that's in power wants to use race or religion. Now they include religion with race to try to say a Jewish person's white when that's not the case. Or they try to say whatever religion, like Muslims, they say Muslim. Well, if they study Islam, okay, well, that's fine. You know that they're a Muslim who studies Islam, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're not a Christian if they've converted. So
I think you hit the nail on the head, Eric, and I'm sad to do this, but I have to suspend the conversation. But keep listening online because I've got a break to get to. But you hit it on the head with me, at least. There are I was talking to my good friend Jay St. Clair about this weekend, and for those listeners who join me from noon until 3 on a regular basis, you know Jay comes on with me on Fridays. He's an incredible legal mind. He's one of the smartest men I know. And we were talking about the 21st century. We were talking about the fact that next year will be 1 quarter away through the 21st century. It's pretty incredible if you think about it, that we're already there. It feels like yesterday it was 2000, right? Yesterday we were celebrating the millennium. And I asked Jay if anything surprised him. And he said one of the things that surprised him, and I share this feeling, was that we're not further along down the road in putting sad aspects of our past with regard to race to bed. And that it's seemingly getting worse, not better. And as we were discussing it, my response to Jay was, it is sadly because so many people make money on it. There is such a money-making industry that necessitates the reality that we have to keep individuals at each other's throats. And if you do that through the groupthink dynamic, or whatever mechanism you can create people in groups to be mad at other people in groups, that is to the benefit of the individual that's making that creation and that distinction, because they make money from it. And most of these people work within the government, or many of them do. Not most of them, many of them do. Or work through the government to achieve their goals through things like NGOs, for example. It's a sad reality, but it is true. And I agree with Morgan Freeman. The only way to overcome the issues surrounding race is to stop talking about it. And if we stop talking about it, people stop making money on it. It's 51 after the hour on Super Talk.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good evening. It is 6:01, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and some rain in the area, showers appearing. Looks like Belmead, Forest Hills, you're getting it now. Berry Hill, you'll be next. We've got 93 degrees here on Music Row. We'll get you that latest traffic report and an official weather forecast in just a bit. First Lady Jill Biden out campaigning for her husband today. Mrs. Biden took the stage in Wilmington, North Carolina to launch Veterans and Military Families for Biden-Harris. Later, she was down in Tampa, Florida, and she told the crowd there that the president is committed to defeating Donald Trump in November.
For all the talk out there about this race, Joe has made it clear that he's all in.
Hot and dry conditions, along with windy conditions, contributing to wildfires in California's Santa Barbara County, where firefighters are struggling to contain what's being referred to as the lake fire. It's one of 150 fires that broke out over the holiday weekend. ABC's Kana Whitworth is there.
Residents here are very concerned. This is a tight-knit community. We're talking about a ranching community here. People have livestock and horses. It's also a winemaking community. So there's a tremendous concern among residents here, but they also say firefighters are doing a fantastic job. I spoke with emergency services. There are evacuation orders and warnings that are currently in effect, and they say they could expand based on the fire behavior.
Heat not the issue in South Texas. Rain. And over 2 million Texans are without power now after Hurricane Beryl barreled through there earlier this morning. The aftermath of the now tropical storm could have been a whole lot worse. But coastal Texas prepared for what they thought may be catastrophic damage, and power crews were called in ahead of time, and they were ready for repairs when the time came. Here is Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo.
I'm told there will be boots on the ground. These 7,000 crews will be here in the region working on our lines, working on our poles, and working to do as much as possible to address the power issue.
First responders making, as of now, 47 high water rescues. Unfortunately, 3 deaths thus far have been attributed to the storm. 2 were killed by trees that fell on them. 1 person has drowned. And that will do it for this round of news. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Yes, indeedy. It's 6:08. Ever have one of those days where you feel like you've had so much accomplished and you've yet to so much to do? I feel that way today on the drive. Only an hour to go on this Monday edition, yet we've so much to get to. I hope you're able to spend the last hour with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. I'm in for Brian. Normally, you hear me from noon until 3 on these airwaves, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I have the pleasure of being with you all week long. Brian is out this week. Chris Webber's behind the glass. Jay Harper's in the newsroom. And yours truly behind the mic as we continue to sally forth on our way to Election Day. It feels as if the presidential election has now taken over. And what I mean by that is, and for those of us who have been in this business, in this industry, we understand how to read the tea leaves long enough, and I feel like after almost 25 years, I've been here long enough. You kind of get the sense of when it happens. It's I would think that it's similar in sports talk radio. I mean, Chris Webber and I are both Georgia Bulldogs, proudly, through and through.
Yep.
And so 365 days a year is football season for us right now, I would think. I mean, at least for me. I don't know about you.
For the majority of fans, yes, I would say.
But I talk to my friends in the sports talk world, and especially in the Southeast, they say that they know. They know when they cannot talk about anything else other than college football. And for Nashville, I imagine the NFL too. I mean, in NFL cities, you have a companion to college football with the NFL. But in the South, there's a point of no return. And I feel like we've gotten to that point of no return when it comes to presidential politics, where that is going to be the main subject of the day, every day from now, with a few breaks and exceptions until November. Now, it is the nature of the beast. That doesn't mean that we cannot talk about other things, and we've done so today. But the main topic of conversation now until November will be who will be the next president of the United States, because by extension, it is believed that individual will potentially carry the House of Representatives, the Senate, and will have 2 of the 3 at least branches of government in their control in order to direct the nature of where we go as a country. A lot of Democrats are very concerned about that. I've been getting a lot of information about Project 2025 over the last week or so. Everyone's all afraid of 2020. Oh, the Project 2025. It's this secretive thing that the Republicans are doing, and Donald Trump is managing it from afar, and he's demanding that all of these authoritarian rules be put into place. This is the worst secretive organized effort in the history of secretive organized efforts. Because you can go right to a website and see there's a website I think it's called project2025.org, where you can see all of the plans for Project 2025 right there in their entirety. It is an offshoot of the Heritage Foundation organization, in which they are endeavoring to shrink the size and scope of the federal government. By the way, for the most part, Project 2025 is a good effort, because it attempts to shrink the size of the federal government and hand back to the states respectively those responsibilities that the federal government never had any business taking over to begin with. I mean, as an example, the Department of Education. A part of Project 2025 is to eliminate the Department of Education. I'm all for it. Nationally, obviously that doesn't, well, I almost said something I did not mean. Sadly, I believe that public education might be failed. I hate that. But if you listened to the head of the National Education Association over the weekend, I think you can understand why I might believe that. Speaking of listening to a few things got heated at the White House today as Karine Jean-Pierre attempted to defend the concept that the White House apparently had a Parkinson's doctor at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue on 8 separate occasions, and they've never bothered to mention this in the past, nor do they believe that one has anything to do with the other, meaning the presence of a doctor specializing in Parkinson's disease and the idea that the president of the United States has slid off his cracker. Well, those two things are mutually exclusive, at least so says Karine Jean-Pierre.
He gets every year that we provide to all of
Can
them.
I ask you a very basic, direct question?
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no.
Reporting about it.
No, wait a minute. Ed, please.
Ed's
a little
upset.
Respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're
Dr.
asking me.
Kevin Kennard, come to the White House.
But I also said to you, Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
we
share
have
names
to. We have
of
to.
Others he would have met with.
We
But
cannot
you can share names
no,
in regards to if someone came here in regards to
we
the
cannot
president.
share. We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist.
Wait, they're saying they can't share names of a dermatologist? What? Why?
We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to.
Oh, she answered it. Chris, you were wondering why? Security reasons. That should clear that up. Yeah.
We have to protect. I understand.
Okay, she almost said we have to protect who? Who do we have to protect?
Understand that? I hear you.
Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to.
Wait, we have to keep their privacy. There are White House logs that have to be signed into. What in the hell is this woman talking about? Conveniently, we have to protect the privacy of these individuals. Maybe if they had just, remember when they found cocaine at the White House? Maybe if they'd have just said that. Well, we know whose cocaine it was, but we have to protect their their privacy.
Give them.
Question at the doctor.
We have to keep their privacy.
It is public information.
I hear you.
There is no HIPAA. What are they talking about? We have to protect them. So if you don't understand the full nature of the backstory on this tale, apparently Joe Biden's personal physician, or his official physician as president of the United States, met with a Parkinson's disease expert affiliated with the Walter Reed Medical Center earlier this year, according to White House visitor logs. That the White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, met Parkinson's expert, Dr. Kevin Kennard, and 2 others at the White House in January. Kennard is a longtime neurologist at Walter Reed and an expert in movement disorders. According to visitor logs, Walter Reed cardiologist Dr. John Atwood also attended the January meeting. There was a 4th attendee, and they won't tell who the 4th attendee was. Both doctors are declining to comment. We are also now seeing where there was at least 8 separate instances where a Parkinson's expert, this Dr. Kennard, met with someone at the White House. He signed in 8 separate times, and they won't say why. Well, I think we can all kind of figure it out.
And you're going to allow this to fester longer, Kareem, unless the White House answers the
hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth with me in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What do you missed about? What do you missed about?
Everything he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered.
So, needless to say, the White House press corps, they're getting a little tired of the non-answers and the evasive nature of the White House.
Parkinson's expert has come to visit the White House almost a dozen times over the last year or so, including at least one meeting with the president's physician. Could you state, very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The president has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist. And just to give you a quote from that, from the report most recently in February, an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring in that there were no findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorders such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis, end quote. So that came directly from in February in that comprehensive report that was.
And it was after this answer that the conversation then devolved into the melee that I first presented to you. It was absolute chaos in the briefing room, to the point that Karine Jean-Pierre felt the need to share a personal point of privilege with the audience assembled at the White House, the press corps assembled at the White House, as well as the American people. Here is a tender moment with Claude, a.k.a. Karine Jean-Pierre.
I just want to take a step back for a second, because I do take offense to what Ed alluded to. You know, come out here, every day there's a press briefing, and we do our best to give you the information that we have at the time. That's what we do. And we understand that freedom of the press, we respect the freedom of the press. You heard me talk about this last week.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate the back and forth that we all have.
She's giving the old thumb.
I try to respect you. I hope you try to respect me.
Respect me.
And we literally do everything that we can. My team does everything that we can to make sure we get the answers to you. That's what we do. And sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we are not in agreement. But you know what? That's democracy. That is what is important, to have that healthy back and forth. And so to say that I'm holding information or allude to anything else is not unfair. It's really, really unfair. I think
Did you hear what she did there? I hate to interrupt her very heartfelt and tearful conversation with the American people and the American press, but she accidentally said the truth there for a minute.
Allude to anything else is not unfair. It's really, really unfair.
Not unfair.
I think people who are watching and have been watching this briefing for this past week could say that we are doing our best in this briefing to provide the information that we have.
Does anybody believe that in the aftermath, what she's referring to is the aftermath of the debacle that was the debate, and the media is finally demanding to find out the answers that they ought to have been asking, to questions they ought to have been asking for the last 3 years. What does the president know, and when does he know it? Not what does the president know and when did he know it. What does the president know, and when does he know it? Between 10 and 4? Between noon and 2? Does he know where he is today? Does he know where he is tomorrow? Does he know his butt from a hole in the ground? These are real questions. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that I don't know what the president knows at any given second of any given day. Sometimes he seems mildly with it, and other times he seems completely out of it. He's the president of the United States of America. He is the leader of the free world. How is this not a constitutional crisis if we cannot tell you that the president is with it 24 hours a day? And yet this lady comes out there and wants to throw a pity party for herself because they consistently lie and deflect when it comes to the president's health. And they know what they're doing, and they know how to do it.
And I will admit, I will be the first one to admit, sometimes I get it wrong.
Well, that's a first.
At least I admit that. At least I admit that.
What, are you insinuating that some don't?
And sometimes I don't have the information. And
that's also true. She said two true things in a row. Let's mark this down.
Always admit that. But I do take offense to what was just happening at the beginning of this briefing.
Okay, well, that's good for you. I take offense at your presence. I take offense at your existence. I take offense that Joe Biden is the best thing that we can do in the United States of America. I got a lot of offense to take. Teresa, we'll get to you momentarily at 6:22. It's time for this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The UN Security Council scheduled to meet on Russia's bombing of a Ukrainian children's hospital. That's scheduled for tomorrow. And we'll have today's closing money news. That's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. J. It's 27 after the hour right now. Matt Murphy and for Brian Wilson on The Drive. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there were also reports, in addition to the report that neurologists are making regular visits to the White House, that doctors specializing in Parkinson's disease are making regular trips to the White House. There was also a report that a couple of radio hosts, one by the name of Lawful Sanders, I think that's right, working at a radio station, WURD, in Philadelphia, were fed questions to ask Joe Biden. And I want to address that because I think there's a little bit of inside baseball going on here. It is not unusual. The interview was conducted this past Wednesday. It was reportedly Biden's first formal media interview since his debate performance against former President Trump, which went disastrously, as we know. The radio station is WURD, and its host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, Lawful Lawful Sanders, mutually, apparently the radio station and the host have now parted ways. The host was fired by the radio station. More on that in a moment. Sacrificial lamb. But the reporting came out through #NeverCNN. One of their weekend shows questioned the host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, as to whether or not these were her questions, because she and another radio station who also had a Biden interview, both of them African-American radio stations, because he's trying to make inroads back into the African-American community after he's bleeding numbers in the African-American community. The questions that these hosts asked were like exactly the same, which is odd. And so it was eventually figured out that they were given the questions to ask. They received a list of 8 questions, and she claims she, quote, approved 4 of the questions. And I know how this goes, right? I have only had one instance where I was asked to submit my questions in advance. And I said no. And it was Jeb Bush, candidate for president in 2015. I was a host in Alabama, and the advance team, Jeb Bush, was coming through Birmingham for a fundraiser. This is prior to his please clap moment. It was prior to, low energy Jeb being dispatched of by Donald J. Trump. And his team said, we generally ask for the questions in advance just to expedite the answers and to make sure that this is the way they put it, to make sure that you can get to as many as possible. We would just like the questions in advance. And I said, of course not. And we never did the interview. It is not unusual for a radio host to be asked what topics they're going to cover. And I give topics. If Marsha Blackburn comes on The Drive or comes on my show between noon and 3 and I'm the host, typically her folks have said, hey, any heads up as to exactly what you want to talk about? And I'll say, well, immigration, border security, this, that, the other thing. But I am never asked for questions, and nor would I give them. Topics are considered to be fair game. You don't have to give them.
It's a courtesy.
But it's a courtesy to give topics. It is not fair game, nor has it ever been fair game to demand or request questions. And I have never heard of an organization, president or otherwise, giving the questions to the host, and then the host has to pick from the questions given. That's new to me. So I just wanted to clean some of that up. Jay Harper has the news at 6:31 on Super Talk.
Good evening. It is 6:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, some scattered rain in the area. We're back up to 93 degrees. We've got a forecast and another traffic report on the way. The UN Security Council scheduled to meet on Tuesday over a Russian attack that struck the main children's hospital in Ukraine. ABC's Inez de la Catara, she has more.
The United Nations Security Council scheduled to meet on Tuesday after a Russian missile hit Kyiv's main children's hospital. The meeting was reportedly requested by Britain, France, Ecuador, Slovenia, and the U.S. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres strongly condemning the Russian strikes on Ukraine on Monday, with a spokesperson saying he found the hospital strike particularly shocking. At least 36 civilians were killed following Monday's attack.
Let's turn now to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks continue their march into record territory. The Dow closed down 31 points, but the S&P and NASDAQ closed at all-time highs. The S&P up 6, the NASDAQ up 51. Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to a criminal fraud charge as a result of 2 deadly crashes involving its 737 MAX jetliners. A federal judge will decide whether to accept the plea, and if he or she does impose a sentence that is part of the aerospace giant's deal with the Justice Department. The crash has killed more than 300 people. The TSA screened more than 3 million passengers Sunday. That was the most in a single day. Ford is recalling more than 4,300 2024 F-150 pickups. It's because the windshield may not have been properly bonded to the vehicle, and that could allow it to detach, and that could increase the risk of an injury.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
639 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I mean, maybe it's the time of day talking, but I just want to tell you the conversation that Chris Webber and I were having. Because normally Chris Webber has an esteemed journalist that he's looking at during these 4 hours today. That would be Brian Wilson of The Drive. And Webber is no doubt proud to act as executive producer of this fine broadcast. And then here I come, and I told him that he was no kind of executive producer if he couldn't find me the Hawk Tuah girl to interview this week. And if you don't know who the Hawk Tuah girl is, don't ask me.
Carry on.
Just move on with your life.
Yep.
If you already know, then you probably need to know. If you don't know by now, then you don't want to find out. Is that fair?
Just let sleeping dogs lie.
That was right here in good old Nashville.
It was, yeah. Didn't realize that until days later.
I didn't either. I saw it online. Whoa. And then like 4 or 5 days later, it's only in Nashville. I was like, really? And were you, be honest, Weber, when you found out it was in Nashville, were you proud?
Well, not when I found out it was recorded in Nashville. When I found out she was a Middle Tennessean, then I was proud. I was
I was kind of proud.
Yep.
I was kind of proud. I was like, okay, there you go. Oh, Lower Broad's not all bad. Anyway, Hawk Tuah girl coming up. By the way, speaking of actual guests that are coming up, John Rich will be in studio tomorrow on The Drive in the 4 o'clock hour. He's got a couple of things going on in his world that he wants you to know about. We're going to get an update on the Flaggate concert that they had planned. These North Carolina boys that protected the flag some months ago, John Rich reached out to them and said that he would offer them a concert for their frat. I think they were all a part of the same fraternity. We'll get an update on that, amongst other things, with John in the 4 o'clock hour tomorrow. Dan is in Franklin with a thought on the vice presidential selection of Donald Trump. I'm very curious. I have my list here, Dan. You want me to tell you my names first, and you can tell me yours, or you want to go in reverse order?
Well, you are an esteemed journalist and a great leader in the political community here in the area. So I want to hear your list.
Okay, so do you want my will be or the one that I would want it to be?
The one that you would want.
This is going to be controversial, Dan, but it's true. I would want Vivek.
Awesome.
If I had my choice, if they gave me the opportunity, they said, Murphy, you're the guy, I would pick Vivek.
Okay,
and I understand why Vivek will not be the selection, and my assessment is that Vivek will not be the selection because he's a little too much like Donald. And for Donald Trump, I don't think he needs another him in the room. And I understand that their backgrounds are very different and certain aspects of their style very different, but certain aspects of their style are very, very similar. And I don't think he wants that. So on the who I would pick, it would be Vivek. On who I think he will pick, I think it'll be Doug Burgum.
Okay, that was my question, and Doug Burgum's not in my top three. But is the leaks or the chatter out there about Doug Burgum real? And what would be your reasons for Trump wanting to pick Doug Burgum and the reasons why he would not want to pick Doug Burgum?
So the reason that he wants to pick Doug Burgum, the same reason that he decided on Mike Pence. And I think if you forget the end and understand why he picked Mike Pence at the beginning, I think the overlay is astounding. They are both very reasonable men. They're both very smart men. They've been a part of business as well as a part of the political process. While being a part of the political process, they are relatively outsiders to the process. They're going to act in a manner that demonstrates fealty to the cause and fealty to the man. Donald Trump insists on that level of loyalty in his inner circle, and I think he would insist on it in his vice presidential selection. And more importantly, Donald Trump reportedly, and these are from sources that I trust and believe, Dan, he has met with Doug and his wife and gets along with them very well. They have struck up somewhat of a friendship, and I think that is very important to Donald Trump as well.
So why would he not pick Doug Burgum? What would be the negatives for picking him?
It's a small state. The name ID is non-existent. There might be some that would suggest that it's important that his vice presidential selection not be a white male. There are some that would suggest, and these are all political calculations, understand that. I don't know that any of these would resonate with Donald Trump. I'm just giving you some of the reasons, Dan. There are some that would suggest that he could benefit amongst the African-American community by selecting someone like a Tim Scott or even a Ben Carson. There are some that would suggest that he needs to pick a female vice president or someone culturally or ethnically different than himself. And I just don't think that Donald Trump thinks that way. But these are some of the reasons that are given to me. There are also people that believe that, there are people that very strongly believe that you need very much an outsider. There are some that are strongly of the belief that you need someone inside of the Beltway that understands how the political game is run. I don't think that Donald Trump feels like he needs any further understanding of Washington, D.C. after the 4 years that he spent there.
Hey, could I end us on a light note?
Yeah.
I think I think the biggest advantage that Doug Burgum has over all the other candidates, and I think the reason why Trump should pick him, he's got incredible eyebrows. I mean, he's got some remarkable eyebrows, and he's topped over everybody in that.
I appreciate those eyebrows, and I appreciate a man that just lets them grow. Just let him go wild on him. That's all good for me. Larry writes in and says, Matt, Burgum is best friends with Bill Gates. That's bad. As Johnny Carson used to say, I did not know that. That is news to me, Larry. I'll have to do some research on it. I would not pick Burgum as my selection. I would pick Vivek. Of course, we were told for a hot minute while Vivek was still running for president of the United States that he was some sort of liberal operative as well. Careful what you believe online. I will look into the Burgum-Bill Gates connection and try to report back on you tomorrow, or with you tomorrow. Teresa is next in Shelbyville. Hey, Teresa.
Hey, Matt. Glad you came to Tennessee.
You're sweet. Thank you.
We're happy you're here.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Well, now, I know I'm off topic. I'm sorry. I can't wait till I got to be in my bonnet Friday. But I have something that maybe somebody out there has experienced and knows how to direct, but there's something about voting that I am livid. So my mother is 92, has full-blown dementia. She's full-blown, like no other stages. She does have hospice, etc., and she lives in a facility. On this property, there are independent living, assisted living, and a memory care unit. I go over there to visit her every day. I go today, and I have full power of attorney of everything to find out she voted. In the process, I find out that the residents in the Heart Remembers, which is a memory care unit, they all voted if they said yes. The ladies do not take anything else. So I call local election commission to find out that the law is they cannot keep anybody from voting, and she's a registered voter. I said, well, since I have power of attorney, can I come in and revoke that? Because she doesn't need to be voting. She doesn't even know who I am most of the time, let alone herself or where she lives. And I know she has no ID because I have everything, her driver's license. She doesn't have a driver's license current, but the expired one, etc. At which point, I am informed, no, I can do nothing. But she can write something and that she wants her name, to revoke her voter registration, which is equally bad because she doesn't even know who these people are.
Teresa, sadly, I'm running against the clock right now. Would you do me a favor? Or do you have email?
Yes, we do.
Would you hit me up via email and just remind me of this call and let me look into this a little bit and just kind of give me some of the basic bullet points of it so that I want to investigate this, and I don't have the time. I'm going to put you on hold, Teresa. I don't have the time right now to do it because we're just out of time on the show. But I don't want to forget this because this is very interesting to me. There are a couple of aspects that I have more questions about. It is 6:49. Thank you, Teresa, for the call, and thank you, all of you. A couple of minutes left in the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Winding down the drive, Super Talk 99.7, WTN, Mark Levin, all geared up and ready to go. Thank you, my friend. So I find myself depending on my backup camera a little too much. And I remember that my grandpa would shame me if he knew this. But this is nothing in comparison to the 23-year-old man who was stranded in his Toyota Tercel for 3 hours on the west side of Strawberry Peak because his Google app told him to take a shortcut over the mountain. He did not believe that which he saw in front of him. He believed that which his Google app told him to do. And he was thankfully he was not stranded for longer than that. He got stuck on the dirt road on a Utah mountain after Google led him there, saying that it was a shortcut.
I love that.
Where are our self-driving cars? It's the 21st century, for goodness sake. For Chris Webber, for Jay Harper, for the rest of us, we'll be back tomorrow on The Drive in the absence of Brian Wilson. Until then, have a great evening. So long, everybody.